Shortage of police officers and forensic services backlogs, delaying criminal investigations in the Western Cape. This has a knock-on effect on prosecutions, and it seems that criminals are fairly free to roam. Authorities insist work is being done to resolve the issue. Our reporter Monique Mortlock, and to find out what these solutions are, she joins us from Cape Town. Monique, thank you so much for joining us. This DNA backlog in the Western Cape, now my understanding is it's actually a national problem, but you will have more details. Talk to us about the situation regarding the backlog and whether it's getting better or getting worse.
Sally, in the Western Cape, it's been a bone of contention for the Western Cape government for a number of years. They have questioned why we have a backlog of, I think it was in 2020, it was over 100,000 DNA samples that needed to be processed. The Community Safety Department, last time we spoke to them last year about the DNA backlog at the beginning of the year, they spoke about how when they were doing their oversight visit at the Forensic Science Laboratory, they found that there was equipment that was outdated, equipment not even working at the lab. And this is the lab that processes all of the DNA samples in the province. Now, the SAPS has been making some inroads. We've heard from the Community Safety MEC that the last time they inquired and heard the figures from SATS, that last year, between September 2021 and December 2021, the DNA samples that needed processing went from 89,000 to 62,000. So it seems that, as the police minister has mentioned time and time again, that there is progress being made, although according to provincial government, it's still too slow. This is also being echoed by community safety structures in the Western Cape. In fact, we spoke to the Western Cape Community Policing Forum's Francina Lucas about this earlier today, finding out from her unique perspective as a community representative, and also working with the SAPS, what has she seen in terms of the way the justice system works, the gaps and the flaws in our justice system, and what needs to be done to address this? Let's just take a listen to what Ms. Lucas had to say.
We also must make sure that as a community we rise and that we have a voice. If we want to say crime must fall, then communities must rise. We also need to see more resources for police. We know the detectives have a very, very, very high caseload. One detective, for an example, working with 250 dockets, I think they can never do justice to the victims in that manner, because there are too many cases that needs their attention.
Now, talk to us about what the National Prosecuting Authority has been saying to you about the backlog. And just clarify, the backlog and the DNA testing, whose department actually does that fall under? Is it police? Is it NPA? Just give us a bit of context there.
It does fall under the ambit of the National Police Commissioner. And when I inquired from the Western Cape SAPS, just to speak to the Provincial Police Commissioner about issues of under-resourcing and maybe just to touch on how we are doing in terms of the DNA backlog, they referred me to the National Police Commissioner and the NPA when it comes to the impact on the caseloads in courts. So it's the SAPS's mandate to deal with that DNA backlog. But again, it directly impacts what happens in the courts. For example, a rape case can stall and can even be thrown out of court with if there's a lack of evidence coming from the DNA sampling that hasn't been done, if it takes too long, or if it's found that the process is just simply stalling. So we spoke to the NPA's Eric Ntabazalila about this. Just take a listen.
A system was put in place at national level whereby DNA had to be prioritized for certain cases. As we are speaking now, in May 2022, there are 465 cases, results of DNA that have been, for the Western Cape alone, that went through that process of prioritizing to ensure that we try and work out the backlog.
Yeah, so this is really hampering prosecutions. The Community Safety MEC has weighed in on this as well. What did he tell you?
Basically what Deegan Allen, the Community Safety MEC, said it all boils down to budgets. He blames the national government for cutting budgets over the years to the SAPS, to the Justice Department, which in turn impacts the DPP's work, the NPA's work, police officers on the ground, and apparent shortage of police officers on the ground here in the Western Cape. So he says it all boils down to national government needs to adequately provide the proper budgets for the SAPS to be able to do their work correctly, and for the Justice Department to be able to perform their function.
Yeah, and you know, Monique, thank you very much for that report. The budget issue, so important. And also, of course, the fact that the Police Commissioner has told eNCA a few weeks ago that actually they need 300,000 bobbies on the beat, boots on the ground, and we only have about half that at the moment. So it is a very difficult thing. The police are under-resourced and understaffed. A tough one indeed. Monique Mortlock from Cape Town, thank you very much for that report.